that you mentioned, referenced it a couple times, the poor collection. But that's sort of, does this play into that at all, or is that a separate issue, Roy? Like at the end of the year, you've sold 10 million, but you've only collected 8.5. How do you sort of
I mean,
account for that?
yeah, I mean that's going to be an issue as well, of course, which I'm sure Roy was the issue there as well. So you've got, I mean, on our side, like on our business, you have to always kind of be working with each of your clients, kind of letting them know, like you basically have to be honest with them on like how this needs to be, how a project needs to be funded, how like when it needs to be funded by, so you can complete everything, or else everything just comes to a standstill.
D-
Even in the production world, like
Yeah. But it's again, you don't have that cash in hand at the end of the year. If you take 6 months to collect it, that money's not being paid out to share. You're not paying anything out to shareholders that year because
no,
you haven't collected $2.5 million.
There's more than that too, Jared, because uh, there are some bad habits in the construction industry about projecting earnings,
mm,
and basically it's reporting profit which isn't hasn't actually been made yet. So if you have a project and you're forecasting a 16 or 18% gross margin on it, and you get into a dispute with the client, or the client refuses to pay something, or your performance is less than you had projected,
Right.
the actuals that come out are less than that. They could be less than your overhead. You could be losing money on it. But if you forecasted that,
Yeah.
and that's why it's so important to separate the cash flow forecast from your overall projections, because there could be a worst case where you could put the company in jeopardy.
Who was it? Were we talking about it last week, or was someone else that there's like that people are, maybe it was a book I was reading, that people are by default very optimistic.
Oh, I was telling you about that last week.
Right.
yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's sort of, it sounds like the similar thing. Oh, we invoiced $10 million that we're still going to collect. But yeah, like you're saying, you haven't done the work. If you've ever worked in construction, what you build for, what the actual project looks like, how the company has to work with, those are all very different factors that come into that 10 million actually landing in the bank account
And when it lands,
and when it
Yeah.
lands. Yeah.
And you're right, Jared. That's what we call the planning fallacy all over again. That's human nature being overly optimistic. So if you are doing a project and you're assuming that you're going to perform as per the estimate, which could be optimistic to start with,
Mm,
and then you're projecting that the client is going to accept all those extra work
yeah.
proposals that you've put in, uh, you get a good rude awakening. Now, people with experience in the industry know. So really, and the banks know this too. It's new companies that usually have the most risk with regard to cash flow. Once you've been in whatever business you're in for a while, it's what I call expensive education. You learn over time how to manage your cash flow to survive.